Hi, everybody, and welcome to Sentinel Sports Extra Guardians Weekly Report. No analytics here. We'll do like we do every week. We'll review the last 7 days for the Guardians. They were scheduled to play 7 games. They ended up playing 6. A rainy week. A rainy week in Minnesota, a rainy week in Detroit, and a good thing they weren't home because who knows how many games they would have played here. It was rainy, didn't really clear up until Saturday. Basically the same in Detroit. I said they were going to play 7 games this week. I was a little pessimistic going into the week. I said they would go 2-5. They ended up going 4-2 for the week. So I was wrong again. I've been wrong 2 weeks in a row now. I was right for 6 weeks or for 3 weeks straight, and now I've been wrong for 2 weeks straight. So we'll get to my pick for this week later. But, the rain games in Minnesota, which caused they began the series on Monday, and they ended up not being able to finish that game. It got suspended in the 4th inning. Of course, they ended up winning that game when it was finally played on Wednesday. Actually, that's the game they lost on a walk-off by the Twins. It ended up 6-5. But the Guardians came back, and which was game 2 of that day. And they won 5-1. And that was huge that they recovered from that loss because, they had fallen behind the Twins. They had fallen into 4th place in the division. They could have easily folded and lost that game, that second game. But they ended up winning at 5-1. Had a great start. So that was huge. That they came back and won that second game in Minnesota. So they went 1-1 in Minnesota. They outscored the Twins 11-7 in the 2 games. And then they went to Detroit. And let's be honest, most of us thought 2-2 would be great if they went 2-2 in Detroit. Well, they ended up going 3-1 in Detroit. They won the first 3 games, and it was great. They played great. The first 3 games. Tanner Bybee pitched fantastic on Thursday, which they really needed him to do. They needed him to pitch well to shut down a Tigers lineup that, has basically been the best in the American League this year. Bybee went in and shut them down. He actually did go deep. I know Vogt tries to act like going 5 innings is deep, but Bybee went 7 innings, and that is going deep nowadays. And so I can't criticize him. He pitched really well. It was very good to see. And then they go and they win Friday night, and then they win on Saturday in comeback fashion. But then they got shut out yesterday by Tariq Skubal, who's very good. Okay, I mean, can he be beaten? Yes, he can. But yesterday was very good. He's the reigning Cy Young Award winner in the American League. He's really good. They didn't hit well against him. But Jose Ramirez did extend his 18-game hitting streak. I believe it's the longest current inning streak in Major League Baseball. But Jose, he's been on fire lately. Let's hope it continues this week against the Dodgers. But so they were 4-2 for the week. They entered a night's game against the Dodgers, 28-23. Their run differential, they were a +10 last week. They've cut their run differential to -11 now. I would like to see them get that. I would really like to see them get that above in plus territory, of course. But so here's some interesting stats. They are 14-5 against the American League Central. They're playing the NL West, of course, the Dodgers. They are 0-3 against the NL West. That series in San Diego did not go very well early, but San Diego has collapsed lately, and there's dissension in the clubhouse, fighting, I guess, in the clubhouse. The Guardians have only played 22 home games. They played 30 road games. They're 14-8 at home. They're 15-15 on the road. So they're actually 500 on the road. If you could be 500 on the road in Major League Baseball, you have a chance of, making the playoffs. You should make the playoffs. Of course, I still think they're going to win the division. They entered tonight 4 games behind Detroit, but I still think they're going to win the division. The Guardians have the best record in the division against teams over 500. They are 14-11. Everybody else, the Tigers are 1 game over 500. Everybody else is under 500 against teams, and the Twins are terrible against teams over 500. They really beat up on the bad teams and can't beat the good teams. So I think last I looked, there were 10 games under 500 against good teams. They have the second best record in the American League against teams over 500 and the third best record in baseball. So when people try to use the excuse, well, they play in a weak division, which they don't. We know that. And those kind of arguments, obviously, they play pretty well against teams over 500. They're 14-11 against teams over 500, 15-12 against teams under 500. But the AL Central is still the best division in Major League Baseball. Right now, they have 4 playoff teams. 4. If the season ended today, the AL Central would have all 3 wild cards. And I remember seeing an article by know-it-all Will Leach, who's on MLB Network. And he said nobody from the American League Central would be a wild card this year. They had 2 last year, and he said nobody would get a wild card this year. Well, right now, all 3 wild cards are the American League, from the American League Central. Yeah, there's 4 months to go, but the division's trending in the right direction. It's definitely better than that AL East. Okay. But they've got, their second place team is at 500. Could you imagine that? How lousy is that? Oh gosh, that's just really, what a terrible division that AL East is. It's a disgusting division. No wonder the Yankees have, the second best record in the American League. They play in that terrible American League East. You know what I mean? The Guardians are in second place. And the Tigers have the best record in the American League, and they're playing in the toughest division in baseball. The Yankees play in that terrible AL East, and it's terrible. They're all 5. One team is over 500. The rest are 500. One is 500, and the other 3 are just god awful. Okay, god awful. And Baltimore's horrible team. They're as bad as the White Sox. Oh, the AL East run differential is worse than the AL Central too. So we want to make sure that that's pointed out too. We just really want people to know that the AL Central is the best division in baseball, and it's far better than the AL East, who spends a hell of a lot more money than the AL Central. But for you Dolan haters who think he's cheap, You know, well, they're not doing bad in the best division in baseball, are they? And the division that spent all the money, they're not doing so well. And the NL West, face the Dodgers tonight. The NL West, yeah, they're not. They are, I believe, the third best division in baseball, even with all the money they spent. So if you still think spending money is the end all be all, you're going to be disappointed. Okay. But let's move on here to this week's matchup. We got the Dodgers today. The series begins today through Wednesday, the 28th. And the Dodgers come in, with that monstrous payroll. I don't even know what it is. I lost track. It's like $500 million or something, And they're 32-21. How have they lost 22 games? Or how have they lost 21 games? It'll be 22 after tonight, hopefully. But how have they lost 21 games? How? They've signed all these players. They've got supposedly the best roster in baseball on paper. But, of course, we don't play the games on paper. And they've lost 21 times? How's that even possible? So I'm looking forward to – I'd love it if the Guardians could take 2 out of 3 from them. Sweep would be amazing, but I'll take 2 out of 3. I don't want to hear anybody say, I'll take 1 win would be amazing. No, 1 win wouldn't be amazing. Take the series. I mean, they are facing, some tough pitching, and the Dodgers can hit. But let's look at this. The Dodgers are 4-6 in their last 10. They're 13-13 away from Dodger Stadium. And they're 8-8 against teams over 500. So what that tells me is they're beatable. If it's a team over 500 and it's not at Dodger Stadium, they are beatable. So tonight's a great giveaway, though. If you're thinking about going to the game and you're on the fence, tonight is a great giveaway. It's the reliever jersey giveaway. You don't know which jersey you're going to get. Gaddis, Heron, and Smith. And I can't remember any team giving away relievers jerseys. Maybe the closer. But they're not giving away Class A. They're giving Gaddis, Smith, and Heron, which is great. Because, middle relievers don't get a lot of attention. But they do in Cleveland. People do appreciate this bullpen. This bullpen is something. Even though they haven't been quite as good as last year, they're still really, really good. But so the reliever giveaway, jersey giveaway tonight. The game's at 6:10. Tomorrow is at 6:10. And then I believe 1:40 on Wednesday afternoon. We'll take a look at that. But let's go to tonight's game. The matchup tonight, the Guardians are facing Shinobu Yamamoto. I'm sure I butchered that first name. I have trouble with American first names, let alone Japanese. So the game on Wednesday is at 1:10. But so Yoshimu Yamamoto, which I know I completely butchered, will go tonight for the Dodgers. People are scared. They couldn't hit. They couldn't hit Skubal, and they couldn't. They didn't hit him yesterday. They got 2 hits. But this is a new day. And let's face it, Stephen Vogt put out a trash lineup yesterday. I was stunned that John Kenzie Noel got to start 2 games in a row. It was almost unbelievable. And he did have a score a run yesterday. So he got on base. That means you have to get on base to score a run. And he did. So and he had a hit the day before too. So, but we're still going to the unintelligent fans and the analytic nuts are still going to rip on John Kenzie Noel and not understand that if you play once a week, it's hard to succeed in Major League Baseball. Ask any player who's played. They'll tell you that. Of course, Rick Manning says it, and the millennials and younger think, oh, he's just an old guy. He doesn't know what he's talking about. I had an argument last week with somebody on Twitter in the middle of the night that acted like Rick Manning. He said he's the least prepared guy in baseball. How the hell does he know? How the hell does he know? Is he sitting behind him while he's preparing? Give me a break. Just because Rick Manning is an analytics nut doesn't mean he isn't prepared. His knowledge up here of playing in the big leagues, I'll take that over any analytics nerd acting like they know everything. Yamamoto, he's 5-1 with a 1.86 ERA. He'll be facing Gavin Williams, who pitched well his last start, and that kind of worries me because he really hasn't put two good starts together yet. His ERA is under 4, though, now. He pitched well last time out. He's 4-2 with a 3.94 in that final game in Minnesota. 4-2 with a 3.94 ERA. And then, so that's, it could be a good matchup tonight. Well, he can't start walking guys, though, tonight. He starts walking guys. The next thing you know, the Dodgers will hit a home run, and boom, there we go, multiple run innings. As Manning says, we don't want the Dodgers to have innings where they put up a crooked number. So, and then tomorrow, Dustin May, who seems to be healthy this year, is 2-4 with a 4.09 ERA, and he will be facing Tanner Bybee, who's 4-4 and lowered his ERA almost a full half point in his start Thursday night in Detroit. You could lower your ERA that much when you go deep, which actually was deep 7 innings. Somebody ought to let Stephen Vogt know that. But he's 4-4 with a 3.57. So that's good. And then the Wednesday, the matinee, the day game, the game a little, usually day games draw really well here. But I would have to think these first 2 games will draw well too, being it's the Dodgers. And, there's a lot of fair weather Clevelanders who are probably now Dodgers fans or some lifelong Dodgers fans. I know a lifelong Dodgers fan, and, he's a good guy, Pat Luda. And he loves his Dodgers, so I knew he was talking about last week when Kershaw made his first start. The GOAT is on the mound tonight. And I just simply commented, Kershaw. I love Clayton Kershaw. I do. I hope they beat him tonight. But this is his second start. His ERA will be his second start on Wednesday. His ERA is 0.75. Okay, so he's made 1 start. I think he went 5 innings. I'm pretty sure he went 5. The Guardians have not announced their starter yet for that series, but so the Guardians will face Clayton Kershaw on Wednesday, and their rotation is they bought a really good rotation. So hey, if they could take 2 out of 3, that'd be unbelievable, wouldn't it? But I'd really love to see him win tonight. I'd really love to see him beat this phenom. That would really be fun. But you got to hold Shohei Ohtani in check. You got to hold him to like just 1 home run a game, maybe. He's going to hit his home runs. The guy's amazing. But you definitely you got to hold him in check. There's other, Freddie Freeman, you got to hold in check. Mookie Betts, who isn't having a great year, you got to hold him in check. There's just so many guys on that team. Will Smith, the catcher. They're just loaded. You hold them in check. You don't put guys on base with walking guys, and don't give up home runs. You got a shot against this team. They're going to have to hit against this pitching too, but I think they can. I think they're going to shock people. I think they're going to hit tonight. I could be dead wrong too, but I have a different feeling today than I had yesterday. Yesterday, I just figured it wasn't going to go well. So what we have here is that's the Dodgers series. 3 games today, tomorrow, and Wednesday. 6:10, 6:10, 1:40. And then we have the Angels. There will be an off day on Thursday. And then the Los Angeles Angels will come into town. They are currently 25-27. Their run differential is -50. Oh, the Dodgers is +59, by the way, just so I'll let you know that. The Angels -50. They're 8-2 in their last 10. They lost 2 straight, but they won 8 in a row before that. So the Guardians laid an egg when they went there. They lost 2 out of 3. Excuse me, on that opening road trip. So let's, hopefully they can turn that around this time and at least take 2 out of 3 from them here. The 2 guys that have killed the Guardians, and it's they're killing everybody else too. Taylor Ward and Logan O'Hoppe. Ward has 15 home runs, and Logan O'Hoppe, their catcher, fantastic catcher, has 14 home runs. And Taylor Ward is the son of former Cleveland Indian Turner Ward. So, that's 29 home runs between the 2. Mike Trout, he's not off to a good start. Hopefully he gets it together, but not this week. Next Monday he can get it together. But he's hitting 179 with 9 home runs and 18 RBI. So he's struggling a little bit, but he's missed so much time. If he could just stay healthy, I think it's great for baseball. Of course, they don't promote Mike Trout because Mike Trout doesn't get in trouble, and Mike Trout doesn't talk crap. They like guys like Juan Soto. They like to promote guys like Juan Soto, who talks crap and disrespects the game. Fernando Tatis, who gets caught juicing and disrespects the game. The powers in charge. They like to promote those guys. They don't like to promote a nice guy like Mike Trout. It's kind of like when the NFL ran Tim Tebow out of the league because, God forbid, he was religious. So Mike Trout in town this coming weekend. So that's a treat. You could be a Guardians fan, and you want to watch Mike Trout. I know a lot of kids. Mike Trout's their guy, So when the Angels are in town, 7:10 on Friday, 4:10 on Saturday, and then Sunday we turn the page to June, and that will be a 1:40 start. That's a kids' fun day at Progressive Field. So that's a Los Angeles filled week coming up for the Guardians, and let's hope that they can have a good week. They had a good week last week, even though I was expecting not a good week. They lost 3 less than I thought they would, and they won 2 more than I said they would. So it was really the first time this year I'd been pessimistic. I don't think when you predict a 500 week, you're being pessimistic because you're still saying they're going to win as many as they lose. But so this week, I'm going to go with 3-3. I'm just going to go with 3-3. I'm not going to go crazy and say, oh, they're going to go 4-2 again, or go 5-1. No, I'm going to stick with 3-3. We'll see what happens. Hopefully, I'm wrong in a good way. Hopefully, they win more games than 3. But I'm going to say 3-3. I'm going to say 1-2 against the Dodgers and 2-1 against the Angels. So that's my picks, and I'm going to stick to them. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. So, but next week at 1:30, we'll be back. We'll review this. Week. Shout out to a couple high school teams. I've made it pretty well known that I'm on the staff at Wycliffe, and they play for the district semifinals. They play in the district semifinals on Wednesday against Chagrin Falls after defeating Pymatuning Valley on Saturday, 10-7. And congratulations to the Harvey Red Raiders, who won their first playoff game in 16 years on Saturday. And it was their first home game in 18 years. And they won. And they play tomorrow night against the University Preppers in Hunting Valley at 5 o'clock. So congratulations to them. They have come a long way in 3 years. And it's very good. So let's hope I'm mentioning these high school teams next week and that they're still playing. But until then, I hope everybody has a great week. Watch the Guards. Let's hope they win some games. It would be nice if they could beat the Dodgers. It's possible, people. It's possible. So let's not be negative and say they can't. But until next week, I'm Tim Shire. Go Guardians.